Hello everyone, TMMgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you part 1 of my long-awaited FIFA 13 tutorial series. Now this tutorial is going to cover quite a broad area, and that is establishing yourself in a game, because I see so many people when I join a game or when I'm playing them in the first half just completely go to pot, give me a nice easy 2 or 3 goal lead, and from there on, if you're a decent player, you've won the game, you just close it out in the second half, take a few more chances, and you end up with a nice 3, 4, 5 goal win. And it's not really a problem at all, because you see so many players either go out all gung-ho or try and be ridiculous with the skill moves or something, and it just punishes you. So what I really would recommend, as soon as you get into a game, doesn't matter what team they have, what game mode you're in, whether it's Ultimate Team or head-to-head seasons or even in career mode or something like that, what you do is you always assume that the player you're playing against is fantastic. And if you eventually get to the 20th minute and you find that he isn't fantastic, you can adjust your game plan from there. But what I like to do whenever I start a game, I like to get men behind the ball, put counter-attack on. I put counter-attack on every single game I play, because putting counter-attack on just gives you a lot more tactical flexibility, because every now and again you're going to find yourself up against a player who keeps the ball very, very nicely, and he'll knock it in around midfield or in his back foot and then put you under pressure, and you can't take the ball off him for extended periods of time. But what to do in that situation is not to panic, just keep the men behind the ball, and when he does make that mistake, counter-attack gives you the ability to swarm forward. So that is one way of getting yourself into the game, just keeping yourself concentrating, keeping men behind the ball, and when you do get that chance to quickly break, knock it around with pace. And like you can see here, for example, my opponent is keeping the ball in the middle third of the field, and this really isn't that much threatening possession. He's not going to be able to create a chance with one pass, and that's what I define threatening possession as. As the guy moves slowly up to the pitch there, for example, into my final third, I put the pressure on, make him lose the ball, and then it takes one ball from me. That's a fantastic ball, for example, the lobbed through ball, because it's a ball that you see a lot of people use, but not many people use it correctly. You see a lot of people just win the ball with their centre-halves and play Gabby Agbonlahor or Darren Bent or someone rapid up front and just punt it upfield and hope for the best, and that isn't the way to play that ball at all. The way you want to play that lob through ball is first and foremost look at your radar, because I don't think many players that I play actually bother to look at the radar, and that is a key way of getting yourself into the game, because the main way of making sure you stamp your authority on the game is through keeping possession. And to keep possession, you need to make sure that you know where your players are on the field. And you see some people who just punt the ball at field aimlessly or give away brainless possession, and you think if you actually just glanced at the radar for 1 millisecond, you're not going to make that pass. So that's another really important tip for getting yourself into the game. You need to keep your eye on the radar and make sure that the passes you are doing, if you can't see where the player is on the screen, you're at least aiming it in the general direction of the player, because there's nothing worse than knocking the ball around nicely for a while, then punting the ball up front and seeing that you've just wasted possession, and then you have to win it back again. So good possession football and good accurate passes are the really important way to get into the game. But I'm just going to talk briefly about lob passes. You saw there in just the move I did about a minute ago that I punted the ball over at more of an angle, and that is the key thing about lob through balls. Like I was saying, you see so many people just whack the ball upfield and hope for the best, but that isn't the best way to get the use out of the pass. What you need to do is aim it diagonally into a channel, because even then, if the striker isn't the quickest, he can run into space and it just gets you upfield nice and easily. Now that is one really good out ball. Another good out ball that I always try and use if I am under pressure is trying to find either the fullbacks, or if I'm playing with a formation with wingers, because what normally happens, you get the defence will sit in quite tight and leave their wingers as counter-attacking options. The attack will move up the field, and then when they lose possession, they'll quickly drop back, leaving a lot of space on the flanks, and that long diagonal ball up to a winger is a great option, and it gives you a lot of space down the flanks to put the ball in. And if you've got someone, even someone like Robin van Persie, he's not renowned for his aerial ability, but the fact that he's just got a little bit about him, he can make good runs into the box, it enables you to get a lot of goals. And I've scored a lot of goals from crosses, even though my front line of Djibril Cissé and RVP aren't the most renowned target men, but just by keeping that option open, you can score a lot of goals just by quickly counter-attacking, finding that guy wide and moving on from there. But the one really important thing I wanted to close this mini tutorial on is triangle passing. Now I'm going to go into this in a lot more depth in a passing tutorial in a bit, but this is just a theory based tutorial of little tips that you can use to make sure that you keep yourself in the game and you don't get overwhelmed. And triangle passing is a great way of moving the ball up the field nice and easily, and what it basically is in its most basic form is knocking the ball between 3 players around an opponent. So you start off with one guy on the ball, he'll knock it to a teammate, he'll make a forward run, the teammate who's found the ball or now has it will pass to a third teammate. All of this time the first player is making a run forward, and then when the first player is in position, the second player who the first player passed to will now be in space, and the third player will have an opportunity to pick either of the 2 passes. Now, apologies if that description wasn't the best, but all I want you to do is just look at me when I'm on the ball. You can see that I like to manoeuvre the ball around, normally in threes, and it's just a great way to move the ball forward because you're never really under any pressure. If you are under pressure, you can just knock it back to a guy who's in space and start again, you know. There's no desperate need to throw the ball forward at all times as fast as you possibly can. Yeah, if you just do, for example, that pass there was a triangle pass. The first player knocked it into the feet of the second, while the third player ran on, and then the second player passed into his feet. And it's just 2 easy passes have moved you up 20-30 meters sometimes. You really can charge up the field just by using some nice little dink passes, keeping the defense moving, and it's just the best way to build up. But like I was saying, if that description has just flown over your head, don't worry, because I've already penciled a short passing tutorial in. But this is another great opportunity. If you guys have any ideas for FIFA tutorials that you want me to do, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments. But bear in mind, don't just leave something like attacking tutorial, defending tutorial. Leave something a lot more specific, because I'm going to be focusing on specific things, keeping the tutorials relatively short to enable you just to quickly dive in, look at the one thing you're interested in, and then move on from there. But guys, the tutorial's slowly winding to a close. I hope you've enjoyed the more theoretical side of this one. You know, it's just basic general tips to help get you into the first half of games and make sure, like this game here, that more often than not you'll go into the second half having had a solid first half, got yourself a couple of goals and got into the game strongly. And you can see here that although I had, didn't really dominate possession, my opponent didn't get a shot on target in the entire game. I kept the ball fairly nicely when I had it, and I did things with it. It's great to move the ball forward, create chances and score goals. So guys, I really hope you've enjoyed the video. Plenty more FIFA stuff to come, and as always, have a great day.